Yo, what's up, YouTube? Lightsaber Samurai here. Yeah, it's gonna be that kind of video. So man, where to begin? Honestly, I don't even know where to start with this. I've I've been in the process of making some other videos, but I feel like I really can't continue on without saying something. So there's been a lot going on with the protests amidst this pandemic over the killing of unarmed black people, and it's crazy to me because it seems like all of this is going on, the protesting, some of it turning violent, opportunistic people who really aren't there to protest but are there to loot and take advantage of the chaos. It's like all of this could just be over if people just wouldn't be racist. That's so crazy to me. Like, you would rather go through all this than just be like, you know what, hey, you know what, black people are people too, and I'm not gonna feel like they are somehow inferior to me just because of the color of their skin. Like, that ideology, like, that's incredibly crazy to me. And I just want to take this time out to address some of that. Yes, normally I'm just a YouTuber. I make YouTube videos about camera equipment and retro video games because that's like the two things, those are my two major hobbies, what I'm into. And so first off, as somebody try to tell me like, oh, stay in your lane, I hear that's an argument that's been going around, that stay in your lane, like, oh, you just do videos about this or that, or like you are not the person with answers. Like, stay in your lane. Like, first of all, I feel like anybody who has an opinion should share it, and if you are thinking whether you should speak up or be silent, then you should speak up. A lot of this stems from the fact that we've gone decades with people being silent, and that's a lot of the problems, is people haven't been speaking up the way they should, and it's got to a point where it's boiling over now. And so yeah, if you got something to say, I think the more dialogue we have, the better. For me, before I was a teacher, before I was a YouTuber, before I was a photographer, before I was any of that, I was a black man in America, the black boy at the time. So it's like, staying at, like, this is my lane. Like, what do you mean? Like, this is my lane at its purest level. So that's crazy to me. Like, so that's been an argument I've had. I've heard all the stuff like, oh, you guys are just like tearing up your own neighborhoods and blah 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 blah. And I just feel like people don't know the difference between protesters and looters. There are a lot of people out there just peacefully protesting, and those people you need to continue. I don't care what anybody says. I'm for the protest 100%. I feel like we need to just keep kicking it up, and it'll get to the point where if enough people say that they're ticked off about something, like, the powers that be will have no choice but to change it. So in that regard, just keep doing what you're doing. I'm out there protesting too here in my city of Wichita. So yeah, just do that. Like, there's nothing wrong with that at all. For the looters and the people who are, just being opportunistic, whatever the case, that's a tough one. Like, it, you would think it would just be easy for me to say like, oh well, I hope they go to jail or whatever, but it's it's two facets to that, because I do think that the majority of the looting is just people, trying to take advantage of the fact that there's tons of people in the streets and the police, have been engaged with them. And so while that's going on, let me go, break into this store real quick and steal a cell phone or whatever the case. And so you get a lot of that. But there are people out there who are, maybe like breaking out a police car window or whatever the case because they're grieving. And to that, I will tell you what I tell my kids. Like, if I see a kid that's bullying another kid, and the kid that's getting bullied flips out because another kid is calling them a bad name, and the kid flips out and hits that other kid, of course they're both in trouble. But I'll tell the bully like, hey, look, and I tell all my kids like, hey, you can't be responsible for how people react to your BS. Okay, you don't get to decide how people react to your BS, and in this case, we don't get to decide how people grieve, and whatever the case. Like, if George Floyd's brother had decided to set a police car on fire, this didn't happen, by the way. But I'm just saying, like, if he or someone who felt like their loved one had been killed unjustly by the police, and they broke out a police window, a police car window. Like, is that a crime? Technically, yes. But, I mean, if if that's how they need to grieve, man, I mean, who am I to say? That's really touchy. Like, who am I to say how someone should grieve? I would exercise caution, but it is what it is. A lot of this has been a long time coming. If we had just, really had dialogue about this and really tried to look for solutions in the decades leading up to this, then, I mean, we might be in a different place right now. But the fact that police officers can do things like this in the year 2020, and the fact that he felt like he could do that and it would be okay, like, that's a huge problem. That's an issue with his mentality. I'm sure he's racist, but outside of that, I mean, for police officers, I feel like there's this stigma that goes on with police force, and it's, like I said, it's long running that, they see African Americans, especially African American men, as a threat. I know me personally, like I said, I work for a school, so obviously I've never been to prison. I'm not a felon, and I try to do everything I can to stay on the right side of the law, but I've been in handcuffs 3 times in my life, for sure. Like I said, I'll tell you about one of them. Actually, come with me real fast. Let's take a quick field trip / story time. Let's talk about it. Okay, so story time. So the year is May of 2000, and I'm like 15 years old. I'm walking home from school. It's the last day of school. Me and my buddy Andre walking home from school. I've got a huge heavy coat on because it had been in my locker since February. So this coat, taking this coat home. I'm actually walking down this street here. I'm showing you. We're just walking down Edgemoor here, kind of a busy street. There's no sidewalk at all, so we're kind of just like walking through the houses here. All right, but anyway, so walking through the houses, you got a curb here, and I'm kind of walking up on this curb because, I'm a kid, so I'm balancing on the curb. Now, we passed this house with a car out front, and I lose my balance, so I kind of like push on the car a little bit to regain my balance. Not a big deal. Where I'm coming from here, at this corner on English there was a squad car parked right there, and so me and my buddy were walking this way towards the corner. As we get close to the corner, the 2 policemen, they step out of the car and approach us, and just kind of ask us what we're doing, and oh, we're walking home. Now, this coat I had was nice. It was a super nice winter coat, had the fur on top, and it was looking pretty dope, right? So I had that, and he said, "Where'd you get the coat?" And I was like, "I mean, it's my coat. My parents bought it for me for Christmas." He was like, "Why do you have that coat? And it's so hot outside." And I told him, "Well, it's been in my locker since February," right? So I'm like, finally cleaned out my locker, this and that. So they separate us, right? And so one cop's talking to my boy, the other cop's talking to me, and he's talking to my homeboy Andre, and Andre vouched for me on this because, I mean, you were there with me. He told my friend, he said, "Hey, I'm 99% sure that your friend," talking about me, it's like that he took that coat out of that car. And so according to the cop, I reached into this car and stole the coat out and kept it moving. But it's like literally like I was walking, and then I just like bam, pushed myself off, just balance, because I'm walking on the curb. So at that point, the cop is asking me if I had any felonies or like any, crazy stuff like that. Like, I'm like 15 years old. To this day, I'm not a felon. So here's the crazy part. He handcuffs me. And if I had known then what I know now, like, that's super illegal, right? And he said, I just want to, I think he said for his safety or something stupid like that. So anyway, I told him, like, they came back, it's like, the reason why we stopped you is because we feel like you stole this coat out of the car. And I'm like, no, this is my coat. Like, I just cleared out my locker. So I'm like, well, the car is here. Why don't you just ask the guy? And of course, like, looking at the car, the doors were still locked. The windows were up. The doors were shut. Like, the car was locked up when they went and inspected the car. So sure enough, they go and they knock on this guy's door. And so the guy comes out, and it was a white guy. It was weird because I saw him looking crazy at the fact that I was already cuffed, and these cops are just like asking these crazy questions. Man, I'm right in the sun now. But so they asked him, they said, hey, this is your car? He's like, yeah. He's like, we want you to take a look, make sure nothing's missing out of it. He's like, is there a problem, officer? They're like, yeah, we feel like these gentlemen went in your car and took this coat out. And the dude looked at the coat. He's like, no, that's not my coat. I've never seen it before. And then I stepped in. I'm like, that's what I was saying. Like, the coat is mine. I got it from my locker from school. Today's the last day of school. So the dude just kind of looks at his car, just real quick. He's like, look, he's like, nothing's wrong with my car. Like, they've done nothing wrong. My car is fine. They didn't take the coat out of my car. They haven't been, nobody's been messing with my car. So at that, the cops had to let me go. And Andre, if you remember, after that, they offered to give us a ride home because we were walking like 3 miles home from school because we weren't on the bus like that. But yeah, just craziness like that. And I don't know how he got from literally I was walking on the curb and just balanced myself to I broke into the car and took that coat out. So just crazy stuff like that. But I mean, you know, did he choke me to death? No, but it's just little stuff like that that, I mean, unfortunately, you know, people of color got to deal with. And I don't know if it's just they see me as a threat or they're scared or whatever the case. I'm sure it's a combination of a lot of things, but there is a stigma with law enforcement that seriously needs to be addressed because, I mean, it's getting people killed out here and it's no longer a game. So that's my story. Okay, so with that, all that being said, I mean, there you go. And if I had known then what I know now, you know, I don't know how it would have turned out. But yeah, it's just crazy to me. So another thing I'm hearing, you know, I wish they would, you guys just need to protest peacefully, or we tried that, and people, you know, try to make parallels to Martin Luther King Jr. Well, he created real change by protesting peacefully, and that's absolutely true. He absolutely did, and he got shot in the head. Colin Kaepernick tried to protest police brutality peacefully, you know, year before last. Remember that, when everybody said he was disrespecting the flag? And I can see how some people would be, you know, how some people would be hurt by that. He's kneeling during the flag and he's not acknowledging the national anthem and all of that. But let me try to break it down for you as clearly as possible. And again, I'm not going to say anything that he hasn't already said. And I don't think he was necessarily, first of all, let's talk about kneeling. I didn't know that kneeling was disrespectful. I mean, people kneel to propose, people kneel to, you know, in the old days, knights would kneel to kings or noblemen to show their respect. Again, you know, people propose, get down on one knee as a sign of respect. He got the idea from the soldier who told him that in the military they will take a knee for their fallen comrades as a sign of respect. So how this became that it was a sign of disrespect just seems like the narrative by the powers that be that was putting that out at the time. So first of all, I don't see that as disrespectful at all. And in addition to protesting, I felt like if you believe the words of the national anthem and you believe, because first of all, this is going to be controversial for me to say, but the flag is just a piece of cloth and the national anthem is just a song at the end of the day. A song that had a whole verse, you know, supporting the ideas of slavery and all of that, that they had to take out for the sake of political correctness. So, you know, it is what it is. But the flag is a symbol, you know, and the symbol represents things like equality and freedom for all and this and that and the other. So, if you truly believe that, but seem to be okay with unarmed black men being gunned down for absolutely no reason at all, then, you know what I mean? Like, that's something that's time to look inward at that point. And that's really, he was just challenging that. Like, if you truly believe in this, and he said, like, he kneeled during the national anthem because he thought the words of the song were words that did not apply to him as an African American. And most of us feel that way. It's hard for me, it's hard for me to wrap my head around that. So that's why it's not disrespect. We're not being unpatriotic. A lot of people say, "Oh, if you don't like it, we'll leave." Well, because America is the greatest country in the world, and we like to think that we live in a country that if something is being done wrong, that if enough of us got together and explain our grievances, that we could create change. And that's supposedly what America was all about. But again, it doesn't seem to be that way when it comes to people like me. So that's what Kaepernick was. That's what he was doing. And a lot of people, they made it about the flag and the anthem and called him unpatriotic as a means to shut him up and to scare people out of protesting. And like I said, now look what we got now. I mean, I don't know. Do I have the answer? The answer is just for people to stop being racist. I mean, honestly, again, this is all because people just don't want to be racist, and people don't want to let go of the stigmas and don't want to admit that there's serious issues in the way that cops have been trained. And I mean, the history of policing, I mean, look it up all the way back to slave patrols and things like that. Like, the history it's systemic and it runs deep. And like I said, that's all got to change, and that's all got to be, first it's got to be acknowledged, and then it's got to be changed, and then the change has to be enforced, and that's it. So I don't know, that's pretty much all I got. I'm just, again, my head's just been wrapped up in this for the last few weeks. I know a lot of people that say they want to get off of social media and take a break and do what you need to do, but for those who are protesting, keep doing it. We need to keep this in people's ears for as long as possible, because the powers that be would love for us to go back and post about and tweet about things that don't matter, celebrities and things that are stupid like that. So that's all I got, man. If you were offended by this video and you feel like you need to unsubscribe from me, then that's cool. I'm a small channel, so I have no problems with losing racist subscribers. Which, if you're racist, I don't know why you subscribed to me in the first place. But, but yeah, there it is. I mean, that's my stance on it, and that's it. Hate it or love it, that's all we got. So, yeah. I don't even know how do I usually sign out of these videos. It's been a while since I made a video. That the last video I made, I posted it like 5 days ago, but I had shot that video like 3 weeks ago. I haven't been able to really put anything out, and I feel like I'm just saying a bunch of stuff that needed to be said before I can continue on. So that's it. I'm into this. Y'all be cool now. Take care and peace.